today we will just try to cover some Excel tips and tricks. The first one is embedding feature. So what is that feature is, once if you have any table in Excel, if we try to import that to Word or PowerPoint, once you make any changes in the Excel, you have to save and close. By default, it will just update in the Word or PowerPoint, wherever you have inserted this. These type of things will be useful when we have to make monthly reports of some data in a tabular structure. What we can do is we can just copy paste the data in the template whichever we have pulled in the Word, and we can just update the link. Let's try to see how to make this. So this is a file in which we have some sample data. Let me save it and close. The catch is like once you have updated the data, you have to save and close. That's the catch here. So let me pull a Word document. So insert, you have to go to the object. So create from file. If you create new, if you select any of this, for example, if I select Microsoft Excel notebook, now here only it will just create Excel thing with cells and all. But anyway, we no need that. Insert object, create from file. So here we can browse through the file. So let me open this, and here we have to just check this one, link to file. Let me check that one, and once you give OK, we'll be able to pull in all the rows. Now let me open the file in Excel and edit it again and save it back. Let's see what happens. So we have this here right now. Let me delete some of the, or let me apply filter and reference. Okay. Let me save it and close it. Now if we come here, once you click that, we will have an like update link feature. Once if you click that, it will take some time, and we'll be able to see what we updated. This feature is not limited only to Word. Even with PowerPoint we can do this. And as I said, the use case monthly reports where you have to make, instead of copying pasting every time, you can just use this feature. Apart from that, if you make validation document when the data gets updated or you have to use the latest data again, we can just use this functionality. Once again, insert object, then whichever file, create from file, link to file, and like browse. And the catch is the file should be closed. The first tip I had for today.
Jairam,
yeah.
Can we do the filtering from here as well?
No, that's not a view. Like right, that actually it's just icon. We can't.
Okay. And it's each cell is a kind of image or what?
Yeah, it's an image. We can't even like touch the cell and edit the values. But what happens is, once you double tap this filter, it loads and the file has opened the other screen. So if you want to make any changes, if you double tap, the file is opening the other screen. Maybe here you can filter, save, and update it.
So, Jairam, same level Excel also. We would like to.
John, I can barely hear you.
So, Jairam, as I'm asking, you can use this tip in Excel also. So,
Yeah.
Like we are inserting this object in Word, so can we?
Let's try that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I put it in output. Let me go for insert. I don't find any object here. Yeah, I think we can do it strong. Yeah, that should be possible. But even if you pull in Excel, if you see it's like image, not cell. So So it's more like image. But once if you want to make any changes, if you double tap, we get our file open. We can do that. Yeah. So moving on to the next tip, transpose. Okay. So here we have two files, internal fields and external hires. Mostly these sort of things will be used when we do a compilation of data across months or year. We generally tend to union the data, but before unioning, we should have a check or validation whether the headers remains the same. So to do that, what we used to do is just select this column, first row, and paste this here anywhere, and select the other one. So on right click, kind of check if this one is equal to this one, then give me 1 else 0. You can just pull it across. We'll be able to get, but instead of doing like this, for example, assume a case like recently we dealt with the data source where we have 141 columns. So in those cases, this is not a desirable way, and we have to, if something is missing, we have to, or misaligned or position is changed, we have to scroll across. So instead, what we can do is, let me give you a quick tip for that. Delete this as well. So let me select the column, Control C, open a new sheet, and if you go to home, paste, there will be an option known as paste transpose. Once you do that, you will have it in a column way. So similarly for the other data source also, we can paste it just beside, and we can write the calculated, not calculated field, write the formula, whichever we have written there already, and we'll be able to validate. So, paste, transpose. Once you double tap, it will just flash fill, and you will be able to view. Rather than having 141 columns in the from left to right across, we can have from top to bottom. That way, it will be easy to look at and analyze. And even if sometimes if you do this, there might be same data field, but the order might have changed. So in this case, we will be able to view better, and we can just do that. So this is the second tip, transpose one. Let me move on to the third one. Again, the same thing, third one is also on transpose only. Let me explain that. Okay, so as we saw already, now if we select this, see, and if we try to paste it here, the transpose one. So now if we try to change this value, what happens is it won't change here. But just to have the dynamic feature, what we can do is, like, we can select, we can just write a formula saying equal to transpose, and refer the cell A2 to E3. Once you do that, Control Shift down, you'll be able to get this in this format. If you change here, now we can see the change here as well. So, but anyway, in the data validation, finding the unions, the headers won't change. We can go forward, copy, paste, and do that. But in some cases where if we are, if there is a chance for change in input values and dynamic change, then it's better to follow this technique using the formula transpose, and whichever cell you have to just enter in a cell and do control shift down arrow so that it fills by default whatever range you have selected. Next tip, advanced select. So generally to find, what we generally used to do is like control F and find, but advanced select also is mostly from the control select only. Once you give find all, it will just try to find everywhere whichever the cell value or whatever we have entered is. So what you can do is you can just select this window and control A. So now it selects all the cells whichever we wanted to find. Find all, and once we do control A, it will just select all the cells. And if you want to make any formatting changes, bold or even highlight, or if you want to make any changes, the formula it won't work, but the formatting and all we will be able to do that. So this is known as advanced select feature, which we have in Excel. Next, moving on to the next tip. When we have like large amount of data, and when we tend to filter across multiple things, what we do generally is control shift L and we'll select the items. Apart from that, one more thing is there, advanced filter, which Jagdish has covered in one of his sessions. Apart from that, one more feature we have, slicers. But before moving into slicers, the condition is the data should be in the tabular table format. So let me select all and go to insert or data, take the format as table. So now if we try to select slicers, insert slicer, it will just ask whichever field you would like to insert selected. So slicers. So let me, for the time being, select only two fields, region and item. If you look now, we have like more of filter pane how we used to have in Tableau. So once if I select the east, only whichever region is east, it will be selected. And like if we go by the traditional filtering way, then again you have to go here, select rest all and give OK. Like that, so many steps are involved, but here we can go with the one click. So if you would like to view only central region, central, and same case with this. But here if you see, now it's selecting only one field, only one variable. So if you would like to select multiple, what we can do, you can press shift and select, or otherwise we can just click this icon, which is for multi-select. So once you click this, whichever you select, it will add to the existing one, rather than like removing all and keeping the value whichever you have selected. And rightmost we have one feature, this is like clearing filter. Once you click this, all filters will be cleared and you'll be able to view the entire data. And also this type of filtering you can use when you want to do validation, or even when you would like to give the user interface to the user where they are like not comfortable in going selecting the drop down and selecting. We can give this type of user interface so that it will be easy to the user to select. And moving on to the next feature, scenario manager. So let me explain what the scenario manager is. So let me take a concept where we'll have the rate of interest, months, and principal. Total amounts needs to be paid like that. So 8% the rate of interest, and 48 months total principal, what is the interest and total payment. Let's assume this as one scenario, and other scenario assume we have like different rate of interest and month. What we can do is we can just copy paste the same formula, pull it something like this. We can like 0.05 and 36 months, maybe 35, and the principal, let's assume same. And already we wrote a formula here like PNR by 100. Same thing, we can just pull it here and we'll be able to see total how much. But instead we have one more feature which is interesting in the Excel by default, which is nothing but the scenario manager. To go to scenario manager, we have to just select the data, then what if analysis, then scenario manager. But before moving into the scenario manager, you have to select the 3 input fields. Scenario manager. So once you give add, it will just ask the scenario. What is the scenario? Maybe I can type scenario 1. F3 to F5. Once I give OK, it will just ask me to enter like what are the fields. So first one is rate of interest. Let whatever is existing, let it be the scenario 1, and let me add one more scenario 2. And let me change the values. So instead of 0.8, 0.5 and 35 months, the interest principal will be same. And let me add one more scenario. Okay. So once if we click the show button, it will just show whichever like scenario we have selected. If I click scenario 2 and show, it will just show the scenario 2, and if scenario 3 you would like to, it will just show. Once you give close, it will just close. But if you would like to view that in a different way, we have one more thing. Summary. Once you select result cells is F7. Once you give OK, it will just create a new sheet with all the details whatever we have mentioned, what is the current cell, and it will make a new sheet. If you see here, we have these are the 3 existing values now. But here, if you see scenario 1, 2, 3, whatever we have mentioned, in this way it will be able to compare one over the other, and by default this table everything the Excel itself it makes. So this is the scenario manager one. Currently I don't have experience of using this scenario manager, and I didn't find many use cases, but I believe there will be a lot of use cases with this scenario manager. And next, one of the last tip, data validation, which is very useful when we have to like make the UI part. What this data validation does is, so there is a data validation. So if you look, currently the cell A1 is selected, and settings, it will just have so many like things: whole number, decimal, list, date, time, text length, custom. So mostly we will be using this list, but just to explain what this does is, this kind of restricts the user inputs in the particular cell whichever you entered. For example, let me select the whole number, and the minimum is 1, maximum is 100. Okay, currently this is selected to the A1 cell. If I type 101, it will just show a message was saying, and the value doesn't match the data validation restriction defined for this cell. So this type of feature, when we work on like projects for UI part, we will just use. Just to explain one of the project in which me and Swap work, we used to have a person who has like a lot of commercial spaces, and it's kind of like we have to give a lot of drop downs. Just to explain one, let me make a list. So this kind of booking of the hall, he has like customized hall, whether you want, if you want, he will give the entire hall or quarter or full. So the rent changes accordingly. For quarter, it was like 0.3 times the rent of the entire hall, and for full it was 0.55, and for the for full it was 1, and for the half it was 0.55. So based on the user input selection, we just got to change, the rent has to be changed. So here, just a minute guys. So here we have created the list wherein the user, if he selects, we have to calculate the rent accordingly. So let me take this G9 cell and insert, data validation. Instead of any value, let's make it list, and the source is from this one to this one. Let me and now if you select, the user will be able to select whatever the list, whatever field in the drop down. Now we just got to take this one and multiply it with the rent. So let's assume the rent in total will be around like okay. Now based on this factor, we have to just multiply and we have to give on output. So based on this selection, we will just pull in the value from here and we will store in the cell. For that, we will use the VLOOKUP. So equal to VLOOKUP, and the lookup value will be the user input. And the table array would be, this will be the table array. And we would like to copy the second value, second column from the table. We need exact match. So we have selected off, we got here 0.55. Once we select full, we will get the full, and like based on the user input, this is dynamic. And now let's this be the total rent. And just to calculate the rent based on user selection, we can multiply this rent with this factor, which is dynamic based on the user selection. So of all those, but generally we don't tend to have this in the front end sheet. We create a separate sheet and hide it so that user won't be like looking at all those, and it's not even required. So this is one of the tip, data validation. Here though we saw already like whole number, many things are there. I think for UI part we will mostly go with the list one. So yeah, and these all are the tips I had for today. Maybe any doubts?